pleased to give the floor to Simon Peyton-Jones, who's going to give us an update on the status of GHC. So, Simon.
All right, good. So, thank you, Kevin. How nice to be here. How exciting to be in a room so full of Haskell enthusiasts. Nice to be overfull rather than underfull. So, GHC is a 25-year-old software project now. So it's amazing that it's in such a vigorous state of life, and that's largely thanks to all of you. So, and you'll see a lot of names in this little presentation. And what I want to do today is just to give you a sense of at least what's going on in my mind, of those who are most closely involved about what's happening to GHC at the moment. But I like this to be sort of as open and discussing as possible. This is not sort of formal presentation, and we will finish in time, Joachim. So here, 7.8 was meant to be released at last ICFP, and in fact it sort of came out like about 2 months ago. It was seriously delayed for one reason or another. Well, I'd like it to sort of work when it comes out, which you almost did. But there was a lot in it as a result. So I just thought I'd remind you, because most of this list I presented at last year's ICFP as it happened. Last year's Haskell Implementor workshop. Here are things that are in it, just to remind you. So Achim did this overloaded list literals extension, which is very nice. Twan did this minimal class pragma thing. So when you declare a class, you can say which operations you should supply, and which might be defined as by default methods for others. And that's really nice. So whenever you write a class declaration, like now, you should be using this pragma to document your restrictions on which methods to supply. You've seen enough about deferred type errors or typos, but I think it's super cool. Dynamically typed languages eat your heart out. Now we can run programs that are full of type errors. And get runtime errors, just like you do. Those type parameters you'll have seen a lot about. Really, and we heard those people say how cool they were yesterday. Javor's done these type-level natural things, and that's actually very much an ongoing project, teaching GHC's type system how to do arithmetic. We finally fixed the only track bug whose number I know. It's 1496. Right, the celebrated generalized Newtype deriving bug, which for 7 years was a hole in GHC's type system that I left there so that it would be so embarrassing that we would have to fix it. Which we finally have, of course. I'm very, very pleased and proud about that. And it led to quite a lot of research to make it happen. Use the polymorphic kinds to do polykinded typable, a major improvement in the way that typable works. I humbly think on typable 1, typable 2, and so forth. You'll have seen at ICFP the coercible extension. Actually, this ties in with this role stuff. But, and Joachim did that, who we'll see very shortly. Largely with a lot of interaction with a lot of people. Geoff did this split of Template Haskell. So I don't know whether I think very little chatter about it. You all know that Template Haskell is split into 2 pieces. There's really 2 Template Haskells now. There's the untyped version, which is very wild and woody, and that will let you do splice in patterns, which you didn't used to be able to do, and types and declarations, all manner of stuff. But you don't guarantee to get a well-typed program out. Instead, the type checker checks it. And then there's the meta-ML sliced, fully typed Template Haskell. There's now, instead of having one version of Template Haskell, there was a sort of uneasy compromise between the strongly typed version and the weakly typed version. There's now essentially there's 2 which share very close syntax. I think that's a big step forward. And pattern synonyms. Have you seen Gergo's pattern synonyms, which have just landed fairly recently? This is finally we can abstract over patterns. Other languages can also do this. Is stealing from F# and other languages, so you can write here's a data type, and you've got this just says if I write arrow AD, it's as if I've written this pattern, and now you can use arrow AD as a pattern in your code. So it just gives you abstraction over patterns, and of course pattern synonyms can be exported and imported and hidden in the usual kind of way. So I think this is quite a significant improvement in Haskell's ability to support abstraction. And Gergo's working very actively on this, because then it's not long before you find that you want to have things on the right here that aren't simple patterns. You might want to, like a generalization of view patterns, you might want to write a function in both directions. So it's working hard on that right now as it happens. So that's all in, so the sort of initial version of this pattern synonym, which is 7.8, is very much still ongoing. So that's the story so far, which many of you will know because you've been using it. There's quite a lot of internal stuff in 7.8 as well. This parallel I/O manager dramatically improves the performance of I/O in highly concurrent programs. And new backend, new primops, which people in this room have been working on. Unboxed Booleans, thank you. And that makes some kinds of inner loops work very much faster. Simon and Marlowe is going to talk about dynamic linking in a lightning talk, I think later today. Luite had produced a much better design for how to do the core-to-core passes, which in turn made it possible to treat, for the GHC.js to use the GHC API. And that is a pattern I'd like to see repeated. So I think the GHC as a library, the GHC API, is kind of grown incrementally and was never really designed as a thing all by itself. But to my mind, if you find yourself using the GHC API and it isn't doing what you want, or it's forcing you to do things in a clumsy way, then we should just refactor it until it does it in a nice way. We should use the drive of actual use to improve the API. So please don't take it as carved in tablets of stone, because it's a mess, right? So we should make it beautiful, and you can help us do that. All right. There are various other infrastructure things that have happened kind of at the same time. So this is strictly part of GHC. We've got better cross-compilation. You'll have seen in the last few months we started using Fabricator for code reviews, and Travis and other systems for continuous integration. I think it's just fantastic that now, when I commit something to the repository and actually I've broken something, it sends me an email a few hours later. Thank you, Joachim, for that. You'll see, if you look at a lot of this stuff is tracked on the GHC status page, so we're trying harder on this. And if you look at this page, you'll find at the top there are the 4 different ways, the 4 different automated build setups that are working for GHC at the moment, with links to them and how to use them. So this is a good page to look at if you want to see what's the status page. Okay, so that's where we are. Let me say a little bit about where we're planning to go, at least what's in my mind. So the first thing is, when are we planning to go there? Right, well, so I'm very sorry about 7.8 being so delayed. So here is the plan for 7.10. Christmas! Our Christmas presents. So release candidate by then. So we're definitely not going to make a release just before Christmas. That'd be terrible, because then you'd all, I spend Christmas Day listening to bug reports of why the release wasn't good. Release candidate, that's fine. Right, so that's the hope. So, and then, consolidation period and make a release sometime in February. So so we've got kind of like 3 months left to. So anybody who's working on 7.10, 7.10 things, this is your chance. And here are some things that people are working on. So Tom is going to tell us about, who's giving the talk about partial fact signatures? You Thomas?
Yeah.
How nice to meet you at last. Right, finally, a face to an email content. I sort of wondered whether you really existed, but sure. So anyway, you'll hear about that shortly. Another little bunch of people there. One of GHC's most often reported bugs is the bad messages when it says, you haven't, that match isn't exhaustive, or there's matches overlapping. It's all done very crudely at the moment. 15 or maybe even 20 years ago, by a master's student at Glasgow. Joachim Taylor was his name. But we should do better, right? Because we kind of know how to do better at all. I hope this will get fixed. You're going to hear a talk later this afternoon from Matthew about static values. So we finally to deliver on the promise of just a little piece of language support we need to do this remoting stuff for Cloud Haskell and distributed systems. There's some interesting design questions there. Simon, are you going to do applicative denotation before Christmas? Where are you? Yeah. Maybe. Well, I should say for all of these things, these are not promises, right? I'm just telling you what I know people are working on. If you can deliver by Christmas, well reviewed and all, then you're okay. Otherwise, just 10-12.
Can we bribe you?
Other things. Injective type families. This would be very nice filling in of a corner of the type family story, but isn't really filled in at the moment. Johan wants Haskell to be strict. And actually, there's a very nice design for it now. I was a bit skeptical, but now we have a really quite a pleasingly articulated design. There's a wiki page about this on the GHC track. Most of these projects have wiki pages on the GHC track, which are or should be in turn linked from on this status page. There's a 7.10 status thing. So all of these projects, I think, should show up there, and they should link to their design pages. So most of these projects have here's the design going on. Right, where did yes, finally we'll make a picnic of the superclass. I don't know why this is taking so long. Is it still the case that it causes Haddock to go into an infinite loop?
I fixed it yesterday.
Yay! Thank you. This has been the simplest change that has caused the most trouble. I don't know why. As well, the really difficult things have been gone in life very easily. Adam and I are working on overloaded record. Well, Adam's really doing the work, and I'm mainly saying, it's a bit complicated, Adam. Can't we simplify this? He's saying, we're tugging our ears. So that, not that we're happy with the design, it's the implementation that seems unreasonably complicated. And then here's another thing we've been talking about for years, being able to explicitly apply polymorphic functions to types, or something equivalent to that, to give us a route into ways of avoiding having to say proxy all the time in type level programming, and maybe also to get a better handle on impredicative polymorphism. So what else is on the way? Let's see. I know that some other things that are on the way. This is more stuff that's on the way actually. Being able to make the type inference engine somehow parameterizable by plugins, so that you could solve not just arithmetic, but who wanted the ring solver in the first talk?
Yeah,
right? You want a ring solver, right?
I already have it.
Yeah, but you can't plug it in yet. Right?
No.
Yeah, right. So we should give you a way to plug it in.
I have a custom patch now.
Right. Yes. So one way to do it is just make GHC more clever. But I'd rather allow you to have ways to plug in so that you didn't have to become part of it. That'd be really cool. And then of course you heard yesterday, which is talk about promoting. We'd like to promote more things at the kind level, and in particular, Peter's whole thesis, PhD thesis, could be about promoting everything to the kind level. So stars in star and GADT getting promoted at the type level, everything. So rather scary, but kicking and screaming. I've been trained there. It's not just the language. These are all things to do with the source language. Other things that people that I know of that people are working on, I think are really important, is better support for profiling. Right. So it's always easy to focus on sexy features that are in the source language, but better tooling is super important. So Peter and Carl at Leeds are working on this idea of just putting more of these dwarfish symbols in GHC compiled binaries to allow some rather lightweight profiling and stack tracing information. So when something bad happens, it doesn't just say something bad happened, but you get some kind of stack. Right? At the moment, even C does that. We just give up. It's not very clever. And Carl, who was spent just 8 weeks at MSR this summer doing arranging the GHC event. So GHC, when it runs, produces lots of event things that you can put in a file, but then the file gets awfully big, and only when the program is finished can you read the file. If the program crashes, the file might be malformed. So what you'd like is to read this event stream incrementally as it's being produced, and perhaps put up some visualizations, or at least be able to do something with the data while it's happening. So now the vision is your Haskell program is running slowly, and you kind of connect to it, like you connect to a web server, and start to see information about what's going on inside. That would be cool. That's what I mean by tooling. It takes work to do this kind of thing. Herbert has built a new GMP Integer library, still based on GMP, but the thing is that it doesn't the existing implementation for GMP requires GMP in its bowels wants to allocate something. How does it allocate something? Well, since it's these integer objects are living in the Haskell heap, we have to give to GMP a sort of a hook back into GHC's allocator. Right? And that does work, but it's not very good if the very same GMP is also being called by programs that are not Haskell programs, which need some other allocator. So he's figured out how to not make GMP allocate. I don't understand how this works, but it's super cool. I don't know how Luite has managed to do this at all. Right, but you want to put it in 710, so there was. Oh, you persuade me that it's not impossible. Then maybe we do. So who else is working on things? Yes, Leonard.
Signature sections.
Ah, signature sections. I've got a right new slide. Tell us about them.
It's just like treating : as an operator, so you can write open parentheses, : type, close parentheses. It means exactly what you think it means.
What is that?
Lambda x arrow x colon colon t.
Oh, yes. Lambda x. Oh,
We don't see what it says.
oh, really? Oh, so you don't. Why don't you? Oh, wow.
What about the other direction?
Once the type and expression level are the same, then we can get the other direction.
No, wait. I don't understand.
So the nice thing about this is that it, well, you can use, sometimes you need this, say, between a show and a read or something like that. But it also works as a proxy. If you have proxy A with small p, you can use this thing as a proxy.
Anybody else? Yeah, make me a wiki page, by the way. But and you're going to do this before Christmas.
Yes, it's mostly done. So
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Lots of small code gen improvements. Arrays are getting faster. We support inline allocation, meaning that allocating small things is now faster.
Right.
Things are getting faster.
Why Christmas?
How many
It's already in.
inlines? How many inlines do you need?
None. This is all in code generator. I do all the dirty work.
Anybody else? Carter's waving in a sort of. Go on. Put yourself out there, Carter.
Well, one thing that I just need to spend a weekend to get ready is generalizing overload list syntax so you have an H cons and an H no.
Yes.
And I need so you can either so that you should be able to use overload list syntax with both from list as well as size list and perhaps H list or H recordy things. And I have a design. I just need to validate that it actually works and change the desugar.
Cool. Pop up a wiki page. Yeah, 8 minutes to go. Next. Who's, yeah.
I'm trying to make left fold, or I try to make left folds fuse better, so it works in common cases and breaks in other cases, so that it's work in process, I guess. But
Who wants to add something that they haven't started yet?
Yeah, who won? Yeah. Oh, sorry, missed you.
Oh, well, I need to discuss better, but
Pattern families. All right. I'm frightened already. That's B-A-L-D-U-R?
That's right.
Cool. All right. We all want them already. I mean, I think we'll probably maybe talk to me afterwards because we haven't got time to understand what they are now yet. Yeah, one more.
Yeah, relocatable GHC install, so you can just back it up as a binary and move it anywhere.
Is this an offer or a request?
No, this is an offer.
An offer.
It's stored already there in GHC. This doesn't do it. If you look at anyways, if you look at the package database, you see that it can do.
I listened to your talk. I got the semantic on it, but I forgot your name.
Christian.
Christian. Okay. Okay, so there's plenty happening, or going to happen. And the other big thing that I just wanted to mention is Backpack, which you're going to get a talk about from Edward later today. So 3 months working on Backpack, which I think this is, these other things are all, they're going to make GHC better. I think this Backpack will make the Haskell ecosystem, qualitatively better. This whole turning Hackage into a library software component is potentially very, very big deal. I personally think so. This isn't just a little increment. He's going to tell you more about it, so I won't pause, except just to say that I think our plan is to sort of have a sort of fairly smooth migration path. So don't try to replace Hackage and compile with everything, but sort of do this sort of incremental migration thing. But it requires quite a delicate dance between GHC and Cabal, and negotiation with Duncan and trying to make sure all our users stay happy. So not easy to do, but I think this is this whole thread, which Edward will tell you about, requires quite a lot of help. So if you would like to help with that, please talk to them. Before wrapping up, I just wanted to say a tiny bit about about the way I feel as if the GHC community is working. Here is the slide that I put up last time right, in which I was remarking there've been quite a lot of changes. There's Simon gone to Facebook, Ian had moved to Semel, there's a new GHC support team at well-typed. And we're increasingly, I mean, all of these things remain true, right? My last point was, I'm getting old, right? And my children are leaving home, and the dog dies. Actually, the last bit has changed quite a bit, right? So in fact, I regret to sound a year older, almost exactly. I have adopted 3 children, and the cat is alive and well. So I'm kind of busy, yes. So what does all this, contextual stuff mean? It means that the whole GHC and indeed Haskell ecosystem infrastructure is sort of kind of alive and well and flourishing. Lots of users, lots of contributors, and just if you wanted just to see activity, soon I'm not going to be able to manage with 4-digit track ticket numbers. We're about to hit 5 digits. It's a bit scary. But it's increasingly migrating to being a community project, not a project managed from GHC sort of headquarters. And so that means that all of you need to kind of take ownership of it. I think this is not a bad thing. In fact, I think it's positively a good thing. One change this year I want to mention to you is you're going to be hearing, as well as from Austin, who you've heard quite a lot from this year. He works at well-typed and is on sort of frontline GHC maintenance. He's being joined by Nikolai. Is Nikolai here? I don't think so. So you'll hear more from Nikolai. And I'm asking them to increasingly shift to not so much doing things, but helping you to do things. That is why I see these guys whose job it is to work on this is primarily as enablers. Because if they're the doers, then then they've only got limited bandwidth. If they act as enablers, then the bandwidth is much increased. So that's what I'm asking them to do. So I think the big thing there is that there's the whole thing, not just GHC, but the whole ecosystem is kind of wide open to contributions from people. And indeed, as I said yesterday, I think one of the risks that I think we face is because everything is really doing quite well, there's a terrible danger that everyone will think, oh, I'll just use this as a product, it's fine, right? Well, I don't need to contribute. But actually, it really does, only going to continue to flourish if lots of people actively contribute. And so every single thing, just a little quick retrospective, every single thing on these lists had a name after it. Right, and that's no accident. Right, so I'm not leading on any of these things. All led by somebody else, and that's going to continue to happen. And as well, last year there was a long wish list that people put up at the end of the talk. I typed in things at the end of the talk, and I'm thrilled that this year we got a new where was it? A new wish list, but they all had names against them. Right, let's keep doing that. That's all I have to say. Is there any other observations? I mean, you might just have observations about the way in which you think the GHC community is working, or things that you really think should be done or should not be done. Yeah.
I think there's one thing which should not be done, which is overloading the do notation.
Right. It's already overloaded, but you would want to overload it even more. Right.
Yeah, I think there's deep differences between applicative and monad.
Okay, so talk to Simon.
Kind of laziness, yes, but we disagree. So.
Right,
It's like saying that we're going to use context-free grammars to describe regular expressions, and it will not teach people to use applicative wherever possible.
Okay, now Norman?
I'd like to sort of shift back to the question of the GHC community and contribution. How is one to sort of, how are potential, I'm thinking about matching the expertise of potential contributors to opportunities. I happen to produce annually a sort of small group of extremely energetic, enthusiastic young people who know nothing. Can they contribute to the GHC ecosystem?
So, and I think this is because the ecosystem, the Haskell ecosystem is so large, it can be quite daunting for such types. So I think a very useful role would be for somebody to play facilitator for those people, to proactively identify manageable projects that could be done, right? and list them and curate them and seek them out. At various times in the past, I've tried to do that, but I've always run out of steam on doing that because I'm doing too many other things. So there is a sort of meta task: is identify, curate, and serve as a point of contact for willing but ill-informed contributors.
I was sitting at lunch the other day with Lars from Mozilla. He was describing that he did something very much like that. try to bring people into his ecosystem.
Right. I think that would be a super helpful thing for somebody to do.
You see other communities do this for Summer of Code in particular. That's a forcing function. You have some students that are going to get paid to do something on your project, so you have to sit down and think of some projects. And what they do is over the year, when you have an idea, it's like, oh, it would be nice if someone did this. You write it down somewhere on a piece of paper somewhere, and you just keep tracking them on the wiki page. And then you can use that for enthusiastic students, or you have Summer of Code students, and you just kind of keep this list of small things growing somewhere central.
Right. Right, but maybe somebody could step up to the task of curating that list. I feel what tends to happen is that with things like that, you think nobody feels accredited to do something like that because they think, oh, Simon would be offended or something. But that's the exact inverse is the case. So that would be brilliant.
With regards to that, not on GHC itself, but all these other pieces, the Cabal infrastructure, the Hackage 2 infrastructure, all the stuff that's the ops and surrounding thing, that should be the job that we're taking on more of is the Haskell.org committee. And it's a better place for people that, because they can't hack on GHC directly, but they can help us with a website, which I'll speak to a bit later. And we'll try to do a better job of that, but you can also try to kick people our way, and that might push us to do that better job.
That would be great, yes, because the primary issue is not so much the core compiler, but the infrastructure system.
On the front of getting people to contribute to GHC, in some ways, giving people a curated list is actually problematic because then they have to choose, and they're like, I have to understand all of GHC to contribute this one part. And what I found very helpful when I've tried to get people to write their first patch is what is something you will be excited to narrowly focus on and understand one piece? Or what is like a very low-hanging ticket that just requires them to spend an afternoon digging in and will get merged that week? It's like, what is a good feedback cycle?
Wait, Carter, I'd go for something even smaller. What about just a doc patch? If there's a very simple way, I submitted a documentation patch. I had to learn all about Fabricator. It wasn't too late. It wasn't too much overhead. But if we had
which leads to the next software.
If we just had it, step by step. I think we could get a whole bunch of documentation patches.
Well, that's his
fault. Sorry.
Good.
You set him up.
A great summary.
On that note.
Thank you very much.